So good evening, everybody. I'm Ashish. I head the wealth management business at Motilal Oswal, as all of you know. Good evening to all the customers who've joined into the webinar, as well as the many others who've joined into our live YouTube stream. As you know, the Vantage Masterclass series is a platform where we host business leaders from various sectors and try to bring you actionable insights. Today is a very, very special webinar because we've got a very successful women business leader. She started her journey from a small town, married into a business family. She's a successful homemaker, but then she decided to join the family business and started from the shop floor and turned the company into a billion-dollar enterprise today. The company has many brands and they're successfully competing with the best globally. And they've navigated the last 6 months, which was a tough period for most businesses, extremely well. More importantly, she's also a champion for women to join the workforce and business. So her company is a certified women leader company, and 25% of our workforce is women right now. And obviously, she wishes that it should be much higher. So without any further ado, I welcome Dipali. I welcome you to this webinar, MD and CEO of Welspun Corp.
Welspun India. Thank you, Ashish, for the introduction. And for me, it's indeed a pleasure and an honor to be here.
Right. So, Dipali, just to kickstart the conversation, if you could just give us, a little bit of how you started your journey. I mean, you came from small town Jaipur and then married into a business family in Mumbai. And I also understand that you actually majored in psychology. I'm sure there must have been some experiences at the beginning of your journey, which must have probably laid the roots to your ambition.
So, Ashish, I'm from Jaipur, but I think Jaipur in no means is a small town anymore. It's a beautiful city with a lot of culture, but yes, I got married at a very young age and barely out of school actually. And while I got married, I did my psychology course and graduated offsite. But I think for me, the reason, and I think for me, it has always been like being a homemaker first and taking care of my daughters was very important, because I think for children, I think the best culture can be inculcated by a mother. And I think that's where it was. This journey has been interesting because I have, during childhood, I saw my mother work. And still, I mean, at the age of 74, she does work. And she has been my, inspiration. And that's where, while as my girls grew to 10 and 7, my hunger to learn has always been there. And also till today, I think as a human being, a journey to learn and evolve continues to be there. A curiosity like a child, I think is something that I really, have. Ashish, that's where my journey began. I got married at 18, came to Bombay, had my girls. When my girls were 10 and 7 is the time when I wanted to work. And that's where, and as you know, in a business family, when I spoke to my husband, he said, yeah, okay, you want to, but it's your choice. But I think as you come in, there are certain frameworks kind of, that you need to be working with, and you decide. So for me till today, I think I can just say and maintain that I have worked as a professional in my right of being wherever I am. I'm evaluated like a CEO of an organization by the board itself. The journey has been interesting, learning and rewarding as well for me as I grew. Starting from my retail venture of spaces when I launched in 2003, with a zero knowledge of anything. But I think for me, the passion and the learning and the drive was that you learn about the consumer right on the floor where she's buying it. So I've spent, and I think I've seen all the cities and towns of this country while when I launched my brand in 2003.
Right. So today we see a lot of women in as leaders in politics, in leading businesses, starting businesses. But I can imagine way back in 2002, when you entered your family business, I'm sure a lot of people might have been apprehensive and probably a bit skeptical about you joining the business. So what kind of challenges did you face and how did you navigate them?
So, Ashish, I think challenges will be there always. I think for me it has always been that how do I react with them, how I take them in my stride and overcome them. And I think that's where it has always been for me, Ashish. So 2003, yes, because even I mean, women weren't working that much in my community as well. So there were those questions that how much time will you have for your family? How will you manage it? But I think I always believe that if you can plan in advance, if you can see, and that's what I do till today, to the extent of planning in advance, in the sense I have my month calendar broken up into weeks, broken up into days and hours. And I think as you plan better, you can in fact do a lot of things which I wouldn't have done if I wasn't working either. So yes, there were challenges, but I think the important thing is that 2010, when I took on the reins of Welspun India, was the time which has completely been a male-dominated industry. Ironically, the other side, there's a woman buyer, a merchandiser who's buying your product. The consumer is a woman. There were very few women in this industry, and at kind of a magnitude at the textile industry that we come in from. So that's where the questions started coming in. That is Welspun really serious about what they're doing, and are they really thinking about what happens? Because that time Welspun Corp, if you remember, our pipe business was really becoming our flagship company, and Welspun Textiles was there too. So that's where the questions started coming. But I think for me, it has always been to roll up my sleeves, to learn. And I always tell even my daughters that, if you have to do anything, you have to understand the nuances of the business to the T. So most of the time I spent on the floor, learning about the cotton to spinning, the whole manufacturing process, to the markets, the global markets where we worked. And that's where my journey began, I think, Ashish, I would tell you that. Interestingly, I also want to just add on a little bit, like, 2003, when I started working, 2005, I took a leap of faith and I went to OPM in business school, Harvard. And that has been something that has been one of my best experiences of learning and exposure as well.
Right. And I understand that you were one of the speakers at the Inspire series recently at Harvard.
Yeah, there have been a couple of them there, Ashish. I go back there quite often.
Right. So, you did your OPM from Harvard Business School. And obviously, as I understand that at that point in time, you didn't have too much of a background in finance. But you taught yourself finance. And how were the initial years in the company? I mean, like you said, it was more known as a pipes company, Welspun Corp, and this was probably a fledgling business compared to that. And we also, what we have seen is textiles is a very tough business. So, what were your thoughts at that point in time? Did you have this kind of a vision for Welspun?
So Ashish, purely a manufacturing hardcore business it was, right? And for me to look at it, it was, I've always looked at the consumer because from the spaces background as well, consumer, the customer was always at the core. And that's where, manufacturing has to be in relevance to the consumer, whether we are manufacturing for the B2B customer as well. So that's where the whole journey began. So while we spoke about it, that time I think we started building a portfolio of patents, innovation, but that were relevant to the customer. Looking at consumer feedbacks in United States of America or UK or India, and then developing our products became a norm at Welspun. I always believe that when you're doing anything, customer has to be at the core. Supply chain analytics were very important to what Ashish, we had to look at, because you can imagine the kind of humongous size and volume that we manufacture and do. Any kind of demand that is unreasonable can rake a price hike in the terms of the commodities with Welspun. So that's where we started working on as well. So first of all, the consumer, the products, the patents, innovation, then our brands and licenses. I think while we talk about the private labels, I think we also have a focus on our brand portfolio that we have. If you would have heard of our brands in India, Spaces and Welspun, with a desire to take it to Har Ghar Welspun is where we want to be, because India is the one third largest consumer market, and we think this is where the next growth will be. The COVID saw a lot of digitization, acceleration to the extent of 35%. Our brand Christie, which we acquired in 2006, now is taking a shape of a digital brand. We licensed brands like Martha Stewart and Scott Living in America. That extends our shop, our shelf space there. And our D2C brands are taking shape in the United States of America as well. So I think, Ashish, for me, I think the important aspect was to translate the whole manufacturing business to truly form a kind of an FMCG kind of a business framework that was critical. I'll just, as we manufacture, we also have an ancillary park, which is just 2 kilometers away from our factory, where our vendors are there who manufacture our trims and packaging. Cotton is just very close to our factory. So I think for me, I think, Ashish, the important thing was to really create that whole framework. Sustainability has become a very important norm of what we do, a guiding factor to what Welspun India will be like. And we want to be that. We want to be the kind of beacon of textiles for sustainability. And that's what we want to really work on as well.
Fantastic. So a lot of our customers, are small to medium enterprises. And many of them aspire to grow their business over the next few years. And often we have seen that as you are trying to achieve scale, right, there are different challenges. I mean, you grow to a certain size, and then when you're trying to take the next leap, there are many challenges in terms of rethinking the business design, in terms of creating capacity for growth, and those come with certain hurdles as well. So if you could give us some insights in terms of that growth phase, from a small I mean, of course you always had the aspirations to build brands and go overseas, but what are the challenges you face, and any advice to budding small and medium entrepreneurs who want to scale?
I think the important aspect is that first of all, what your vision mapping is for the next 2 to 3 years, what you want to be, and it is not only about your aspiration, but I think the relevance about what your product is to the marketplace is very, very important. And if you want to scale, there are two things which are very important. One is, of course, finance is one aspect to it. But I think to scale up, I think technology, because you can't do anything without technology. And second is your people. So you got to have a strong team, succession planning, that is very, very important. Technology that connects so that you can scale up faster. A complete framework, a vision framework that is relevant not only to you and your vision, but to your business. I think that is very, very important. One more thing is, Ashish, and I always believe that you got to have a mentor who can guide you and whom you can reach out to. Because believe me, when you are at a level where you are a CEO of a company, it becomes very lonely out there. And in that kind of, you need to reach out for advice. You need to have people who, who can guide you when that is needed. That is very, very critical as well.
Right. Any challenges that you faced in the initial phase, and if you could tell us, how you overcame them whilst you were going out meeting customers?
So I'll give you a little anecdote. I think a challenge. I'll start from there.
Right.
So 2010, when I 2009, 10. I mean, when I took on board of Welspun India, um, cotton prices had just gone beyond. I mean, when you talk about a bale of cotton today, it is around 39,000 to 40,000. So you can imagine, or even lesser, 37,000, like the Shankar Six that I talk about, which is our mega, kind of a staple cotton product that we have. Um, so I this price went up to 55,000 rupees for a bale. So my introduction to my customers while I got on board was with telling them that yes, I need a price increase. And believe me, I mean, these markets, all said and done, Ashish, we live in a market which is inflationary highly, where the prices can be, we can tweak it. But in countries which are highly evolved economies, prices haven't gone because, in America, if you talk about United States of America, where first manufacturing was in United States, then it went offshore. The retail prices have been the same for the past 30 years or so.
Right.
So you can imagine, I mean, that was the time. So it was a difficult time, but I think learned by the baptism by fire. So I think that's where my journey began, Ashish. And it's never going to, it was not the same ever again, Ashish. One more thing, I think importantly, Ashish, I think difficulties, or you may say an opportunity, I think was about, the diversity in our workforce. While when I came on board, we had around 7% women in our organization. Today, proud to say that we have around 25% women. And to get them on board was not easy, because I think a lot of women will connect with it, that and I think all of us, I mean, all of you guys can be working because there's somebody at home taking care of what needs to be done, right? So
Absolutely.
when a woman works, her responsibility doesn't end. It begins from home, ends back at home. So it's a dual role that she plays. So we created projects and programs for women for multitasking. And that's where they could multitask. They could see how they could in fact delegate the work to their husbands. And there was a program that we started also there. We created a lot of examples and aspirations there. There's a young girl called Avni. We did this program with one of the biggest retailers in the world. um, she was chosen out of 2,000 factories to go and represent India, with the CEO of this company in America. So imagine that kind of an aspiration that it created, not only at Welspun, in the communities everywhere. So a lot of women came along. Um, Looking at deaf and mute people coming in also and being embraced in our folds of a company is something that we've also taken up, Ashish. So these are the kind of small little things, Ashish, where I think have been interesting for me. And of course, challenges will be there. We got to continue to learn and evolve from there. I mean, I think COVID has been a big one for us right now. And of course,
Right. Apart from brands, I also believe that you also invested in patents and certain technologies to, improve quality of your products. And it's not very often that we come across, an Indian textile company investing so much in research and patents. So where did that thought come from?
Um, Ashish, if I wouldn't have done it, I would have got redundant. And this becomes a constant process, Ashish, for us. And it continues to evolve. While we invest in patents, I mean, it's not for today, it's for tomorrow. And I think a small example of Hygro, which is a patent which could be around $170 million in revenue today and over. I mean, um, it's it was something was born earlier, but I think how it grew from towels to sheets to rugs has been a very interesting journey, where the towel blossoms after every wash. In the sheet it regulates temperature because it's inherent. So today when we talk about the challenges of COVID, where health, wellness and sleep is becoming a very big challenge, Hygro is a very interesting solution for that. So there's a thought to everything what we've done here, Ashish. Um, Even in the terms of we have another project, a product called Nanocore, which is 100% AFA certified anti-allergic product. It is something that we created not only out of pure hardcore textiles, but with a technical textile, which is a non-woven unit that we have. So these are the interesting things, Ashish, that we work on. And of course, the WellTrack. WellTrack was born out of a calamity that struck our company. But I think just so proud to say that, this is something that came out of that. And I always believe that, if there's a challenge, there's something nice that comes out of it. And this WellTrack is completely like an industry defining technology. I mean, you can put a QR code on the product and it can go and trace it back to the bale of cotton and which field it came in from. So now where the whole transparency is becoming so important, and I think the whole source and origin, when you talk about organic and the other things that we are talking about, this is a very important and a relevant product. And now as we go forward, we're also going into blockchain. So that's our journey so far, Ashish. It continues to evolve. We also have a couple of startups that we are working with, whom we continue to work with as well. There's an interesting project that we did with MIT, um, which we did a hydroponic farming for cotton. So, like while you grow cotton, cotton actually takes on a lot of water, and also like you have two crops of cotton. So, learning about the cotton as a product, because that's 70% of your total, being of textiles, right? So, looking at how we could evolve cotton, whether we could do long staple cotton, how could we do organic better, using less water. So hydroponic farming actually uses less water as well. And so I think, and it leverages that better. So so a lot of learnings have been there, Ashish, and we'll continue to evolve. And I think for us, the whole startup framework that has been evolving in this country will be an integral part whom we'll be tapping on also.
Wonderful. Like they say, as they say, necessity is the mother of invention, and every crisis also presents an opportunity. So I guess you went through a mini crisis in 2016, but came out of it very, very strongly. And I think a lot of our businesses do go through these kind of blips. So if you could just tell us, I mean, how you handled it and came out of it. I believe you were on the road almost for a week or two meeting customers in the US at that time.
So Ashish, I mean, what happened, but I think the whole thing is how you see. There could be challenges, but I think it's all about at business leaders. It's about how you handle that challenge. Um, I led it from the front completely because I think that's where it was. The day the news broke, the next day I was on a flight back to America. I just landed back from America actually, and um, went to all the customers, visited all the customers across the globe, and completely owed up to where the gaps were, how the processes were, where did it happen, but also promised them that we will come back with a solution which will be something that they'll be very comfortable with. And that's what we did. While I did this, my audit had begun at the factories. We looked at the process. We started working on this whole traceability system and this journey as well. And then the whole well track was born. And every month I visited the customers regularly for at least 6 months, uh, giving them the progress and the insight about what happened. So I always believe there could be a calamity, but I think how you take it and take it in your stride and make it into an advantage is something that I have learned, Ashish. In fact, COVID also itself taught us a lot of things, Ashish. Been 6 months, and when March, the whole lockdown happened, I think we were completely, really rattled and very worried about the workforce that we have at Welspun India. 20,000 people. Imagine, not a drop of revenue. And the world was in a lockdown. Did you know what is going to happen next? Nothing. While we started looking at our inventories, our costs, all that started happening in that 1 month. 20th April, as our factories started opening up, our demand started coming in, luckily, from global, because the home buddy economy, like how we are working virtually, I think just rose. We actually, during that time, we took care of our people. I think the whole journey of not talking about more about the health of the company is also about the health of your people. So, looking at kind of pent up protocols, a well heal app, to our AI enabled doctor, which could reach out to any doctor in the country, our well care facilities and hospitals at a factory. Till today, CARA is given to all our people. Rapid antigen tests have been done at our factories. We repurposed our businesses also a little bit, by making masks as well. And now also now going to we are already started making disinfectant wipes as well. So this becomes a very interesting portfolio for us about, of health and hygiene as well.
Right. I know. I think the first 3, 4 months, and even now for a lot of people, this period is not easy. So I just want to know, as a leader, what personal habit changes did you have to make, or let's say, did you have to make any changes in your approach? Did you have to engage people much more? Because earlier you could meet people physically, you could gauge, what they are feeling. But now here we are, talking across. So what are the challenges as a leader that you faced and are probably still facing, and how are you, approaching it?
Ashish, what I learned out of this was that, you had to be, since it was a virtual world, when this lockdown happened, we transitioned to MS Teams. So we started having our meetings, on MS Teams. I created a huddle group of my leadership team, the Apex, so that we were completely closely connected. It was mandatory for us to be connected every day in the morning to see where we were. Communicating, Ashish, was very important for me at all levels. In fact, while we can work virtually, my factories couldn't work virtually. My people had to feel safe and comfortable while they were working. So I actually went to the factory. I was on the floor with them. And I think COVID has taught us to celebrate more, to celebrate our wins, even small wins. I think has been something that I have learned, Ashish. Um, One thing that also that happened was, of course, I broached about it, was digitization, where interestingly, I think virtually we had a lot of webinars for our teams, But upskilling and learning of technology for our people, whether at a HO or whether at a factory, is something that we have really taken on now very, very seriously, Ashish. For me, my important thing is that you got to be completely communicating, accessible to everybody. That was important to your customers, to your people. So for us, our meetings continued with our customers. Our factory walkthroughs were done virtually. Earlier, they would visit our factories, but today I can tell them that anytime you're welcome to visit our factories, and they have done so. Our audits are done virtually. Our quality checks are done virtually as well. So that is something that we see happening. To that extent, we created a 3D virtual showroom, and which was curated to what the customer wanted, and we could take him through our products as well, through our market week as well. So interestingly, I think a lot of things were born out of this, Ashish, for me. Um, so I think a great learning for me and for all of us at Wellspun.
Right. Whilst I understand that, a lot of your produce and turnover is exported at the moment, uh, but we are seeing India changing as well, the demographic profile, the per capita incomes, aspirations are changing as well. So, any thoughts about, how the domestic market could shape up for your business, and any trends that you see from a consumer point of view, or brands?
So let's look at India as a landscape today, the kind of population that we have, and I think we all would accept it and realize that it's not the metro that contributes to a country. It's the tier 2, tier 3, and so you have the urban, rural. You have the rural developed and the rural developing part of a country. That actually will definitely contribute to the landscape of a country and the growth of a country. About 1.2 billion people that we have. So with us, I think, when we talk about spaces, which is a brand which is for the consumer who's evolving, who for her, the world is a stage. She can access any trend, any fashion. She knows what's happening. So that's about spaces. So for us, I think that's a brand where we are enhancing our customer experience. It's a brand that we call is a thoughtful brand, where our learnings globally that we have in the terms of our products get embraced into spaces. Um, Wellspun. Now come to Wellspun, where Har Ghar Wellspun is a vision, where when we talk about the evolution of the unorganized market to organize, which is happening so fast, is something that we really look at. From a gamcha to a terry towel is very important. But actually, this also can't be done, Ashish, just like that. We did a lot of consumer research. We gave our products to consumer groups. We went back for a feedback to them about what they're looking at. Because imagine you have a 600 GSM towel, which is like thick and lofty, which in America, we export to our American consumer. You can't use that in our country. Here, there's no water. Washing machines are not working. And so how do you look at it? So I think we translated all that to what needed to be done. So having said that, I think I'll say that India is a country which is completely fragmented in the terms of demands. Every state is in itself a small country. So the demands are very, very, fragmented. So we are working on how we can really look at, getting that in our fold. So not only, so organized retail will be a very small fraction of it, but the mom and pop stores, they continue to reign. They are going to be there for a long time. When you talk about e-commerce and omni-channel in a country, it's going to have a very different avatar. While in America and UK, which are like evolved economies, it's a very straightforward way of, kind of like, yeah, you have a BOPIS there, buy online and pay in store. In India, it's going to be very different. You have a neighborhood store, you order online, you go and pick up there, or you have aggregators like Swiggies and Scootsies who can partner with you to work on kind of different things. So India is going to be a very different way, Ashish, and it has to be treated hence very differently. Eastern part of our country has a very different demand. So for example, when when the whole country went into lockdown, one quarter was completely in a slowdown. As the second quarter picked up, we started with the Durga Pujo, and it started from the east. So it was a very different way of approaching it there, a different way of communication there. So, and it's going to be an interesting communication also, like digital with the whole print to the whole way of looking at the SEO, SEM, I think will be a very interesting mix, Ashish, for our country. India is evolving, but it has its own characteristic way of working as well, definitely.
Right. And that, in fact, that ties into my next question. Uh, you've been selling online as well, and it's growing. So how does digitization, impact the way businesses deal with customers or deliver their product? Do you see that as a big part of your strategy going forward?
Ashish, a lot of people have asked me a question. Now, when I talk about the whole global first, and I'll come to India later, uh, that how will it work for you when there are a lot of stores that have shut down, or they'll be shutting down because online is really going to be getting big, and it is getting big. But interestingly, there's a great opportunity for us. And imagine, you can try your products real time, get a feedback, and then launch it in the mainstream. And all the retailers are ready to take on your products, which you have, and launch it. And that gives a great product performance read to us, Ashish. So that will become a kind of way of doing businesses now. So interesting combination of offline and online. Plus our communications will be very relevant. Communications which actually are we have this interesting group of around 3,000 home enthusiasts in America, and now in UK as well. It's called the Brain Trust. We reach out and share our products with them. They come back with their feedbacks, because in America as well, you have a West Coast, Midwest, down south, east. They're all very, very different. So how do you translate that to your product is very interesting, Ashish. Coming to India, India is going to be very different, where Amazons and the Mintras of the world will continue to be very competitive, but here the offline will continue to still grow with the online. We still are in that phase where online will be used for the products which are your white goods, technology products, or groceries. But I think the products like home will continue to be bought, offline as well. And there'll be interesting shift between value and volume as well.
Right. So there are quite a few, I mean, there are a couple of questions on the Q&A board, and then I've also got quite a few messages with questions for you. So
Sure.
just, because some of them I also wanted to ask you. So one is, the challenges of transforming from a traditional textile to a sustainable textile. How do you see the future of sustainable textiles?
So let me give you a perspective about the whole sustainability and textiles as well. So cotton actually is the biggest polluter. I think textiles is the biggest polluter of cotton, and biggest polluter. So I think very, very importantly, I think to translate that into sustainable world, there are a lot of things that need to be done. Like for example, we started working with farmers over 100,000 acres of lands across the country in Wardha, Nakatrana, Telangana, and these areas, where we have projects on better cotton initiatives and organic initiatives, where better cotton consumes less water as well. So that is something that we've really taken on as a drive. While textile actually consumes a lot of water, And I think at Welspun, I'll tell you and I'll share that, we don't, 30 million liters of water gets recycled and not a drop of fresh water is used in operations.
Wow.
So that water is free for potable water in the communities. Farmers use that water for irrigation as well, Ashish. Uh, Circularity will be very, very important going forward. So, and that's what is something that we've really taken on very, very, very seriously. It starts from the scrapyard for us. So how does that plastic that gets generated finds back into that, again, a plastic bag that again is needed. Cotton. So cotton, how does that cotton, again, the cotton that is out, that is wasted, get back into the product? Or, I mean, so the wooden pallets that are there, all that actually is becoming a very a way of life at Welspun as well. Um, the sludge that is generated, in our factories in processing, we use it back into biofuel into our kitchens and canteens. And a very interesting, beautiful story that we have, which I really continue to be amazed with, is that, the rags that are generated at a factory, around 2 tons of it gets generated. We upcycle it, and and this is used by women to make rugs, carpets, and cushions out of it. Because while Kutch is a craft center, so women, we have these community centers where women can come and at their own time and make these products and earn their living, Ashish. While I say that, I think the important thing in this country is that, if a woman gets empowered, the child will definitely go to school. And I think that's a landscape that we definitely are looking at in our country. So I think that's where our play is. That's where we are continuing to work on sustainable textiles. We also are continuing to look at, evolving a lot of products which are 100%, not, they can't be 100%, but yes, 80 to 90% sustainable. And I always say that you can't create a sustainable product without making your environment sustainable. So it all works together as a framework. It's a journey that we've taken on, Ashish, and we'll continue to evolve that. One would be that we were looking at partnering with startups, say in America, where, these textiles can be collected. They come back, they break up into the hard waste, and again get back into our product in the percentage of 20 to 30%. So this is a way forward for us, a journey we have undertaken, and we'll reach somewhere, of course.
Wonderful. Some other questions on policy initiatives taken by the government recently. I mean, there is this whole thrust on manufacturing in India, and government has announced a whole host of initiatives, giving tax breaks for manufacturing units, rolling out production link incentive schemes,
Yeah.
sectors, and obviously textiles is a focus because of the kind of employment it generates. So any thoughts on those lines?
So I'll tell you, Ashish, one thing I must tell you, with the whole bit of China that everybody continues to talk about, I think India has a great advantage, and I think government recognizes that. But in our country, we need to really look at our MSMEs, because for textiles, I think MSMEs form the bedrock of a country, and for India especially. I think looking at, and that's where our finance minister did announce as well a lot of opportunities for them. But I think for them to leverage that took some time. That is a very big opportunity. And I think with the whole focus, I think we have to evolve our infrastructure here. We have to evolve the way we work, because we are not even a patch on with China at the moment, the way we are. And I think we'll have to continue to see how we can really take this forward. So this is a way forward by the government to say that, okay, these are the things that are important. But I think for us as a country, there are great opportunities. I mean, I look at Bangladesh and I get, I just, I'm in awe with that country. Such a small country, and look at them growing the way they are growing. Their focus and their thrust is definitely on business. And I think that's what I think our Prime Minister is also trying to do. And there is an advantage and an opportunity for us here, Ashish.
Right. I mean, there is a management question. And I guess at different points in time, leaders, have to take a call. So you mentioned that technology and people are driving forces of a business. Um, how do you identify a leader from a performer and allocate a well-defined role? Because I mean, I think where it's coming from is unless you reward performers with the right roles and ensure that their aspirations are fulfilled, you see people leaving. So how do you manage performers?
So, Ashish, first of all, leaders and performers are two different things. I think there are two things I think we should really define. And I always believe, first of all, what is the culture of your company? I think if and a leader needs to embrace that. There's no compromises on culture. Remember, culture eats strategy for breakfast. So I think important the leader has to embrace the culture of the organization. It has to be very, very people centric. And there's another thing that is a performer. सो लीडर कहते हैं कि एक लंबी रेस का घोड़ा होता है, एक शॉर्ट टर्म रहता है जो परफॉर्मेंस होती है and who performs. So yes, there has to be reward and recognition there. You got to look at that, and that's a performer for you. And I think they are very target based. You recognize them and you continue to evolve them. But for a leader, you have to mentor them. They are the people who will see that who can build kind of as a leadership. They build more kind of talent and have a succession plan in the organization. And I think that's where it is, Ashish. And it'll be a very interesting mix. But definitely, a leader can't be somebody who will be flouting the rules of the organization. The culture of the organization is sacrosanct, and there can't be any compromises there. And that's a leader who's completely people centric and who runs with the values of the organization as well.
Right. Wonderful. So there is a specific question, but I think I'll take this opportunity to ask a slightly larger question. What would be your vision for the company? Let's say today you're a global player, $1 billion revenues with patents. I think 20% of it is branded. So where do you see the company, or what is your vision for the company next, let's say 2025?
So Ashish, I'll be very straightforward to you. Today, 90%, 95% of a business comes in from exports.
Right.
And that is B2B. And of course, I mean, India, our focus as we go forward, when I talk about the core textile business, will be our brands in India. That is Spaces and Welspun. We definitely see a very big kind of a perspective and a growth here. Christie becomes a digital brand. Licenses become an extension of shelf space in America. And of course, we are looking at building our D2C brands there. That is something that we look at our core businesses to be. Innovation and patents will continue to grow. E-commerce will be a very important play. Hospitality is again something that we will continue to work on. Apart from that, I think the emerging businesses that we are vested in is going to be advanced textile. With this whole COVID, there has been a rapid rise in the spun lace and our needle punch kind of a demand that we see happening. So, in the whole hygiene bit, so we see that as a growth opportunity for us. Welspun flooring, which is a greenfield project in Telangana, which was actually set up for the domestic market itself. So we do hard flooring. You can set up your flooring in 24 hours. So that is something that you can do. We have soft flooring as well. And we see a great opportunity not only in India now, with the whole factor with China, we have a great opportunity for our flooring business in America, UK, Middle East. That is again a very important and that is a very big opportunity for us. That is flooring. Advanced textile, I told you, our brands spaces and Welspun are going to be very important. So to cut it and to sum it up is that our play in India, in the terms of our brands, is going to be a very big one for us. And that's going to be a vision. 2 billion in revenue is definitely somewhere that we want to be working on.
Right. There are many more questions on the business front, but I also want to sneak in a few questions which I think are relevant. I mean, both your daughters are working. I think one of them is working in your company in Spaces. So, what is your, if I may say, vision for them? What advice
Ashish,
to them?
Ashish, both of them are not working with me right now. That's the
Okay.
irony.
Okay.
So my older one had a startup called lingerie shop, and
Right.
my younger one has a startup called Cool Kanya, which is a which is a platform for young girls,
Right.
and that's something that she's on, and for freelancers as well.
Right.
I can't explain it and express it further because she'll get angry that mom, you don't even know what I'm doing. But for me, Ashish, I believe. I want them to do their own bit first. Let them understand because, when they come into the bigger fold of the organization, lot of things they take for granted. Let them struggle. Let them figure out their own bit, their own calling, and then I would they could come into our organization. So Ashish, I have left it on them. I don't want to force them, but I know they will be, because the fact of me working actually was a reason, because I had two daughters. I said I have to set that example, that there's no way that, when you talk about a woman, I think the equity, I mean, a woman can do so much. I think the advantage and the opportunity that a woman has, even a homemaker, is no mean feat. I mean, for her to manage and multitask, that is a big deal. And that, if she extends it to her, to anything that she feels relevant to do, I think she can create a massive equity. And today I feel that as children get married, it's not about his or her, it is partnership. And that's the equity that you can create. And imagine how valuable that can be for a country, and how powerful that can be. So that's what I believe in, Ashish. I think it's all about the partnership that you can create. So I in a nutshell, I've let them be, and I will. They will continue to learn, and let's see how soon they come into our fold.
So, in fact, that ties into my next question. Your advice to, working women, women who are aspiring to become leaders tomorrow, right? We have many more women now in the workforce, in politics, in various spheres of life. So, what would be your advice to them?
Ashish, I can only say that, and I think it's a great opportunity, and this is the time where I think women can really take on the reins and work. And right now, with the whole virtual way of working, the whole COVID has taught us that there's an opportunity to work virtually as well. So more women can come into fold and really plan their work schedules better, where they can take care of their family as well as offices as well. So big time opportunity, Ashish. Technology and digitization has really opened those doors for us, Ashish. And believe me, I think with the technology, while IQ could be important, but I think EQ will get the differentiation, and I think women have that more than anybody else. I think that's a differentiation that women can get, and. Uh, I will only say one thing, Ashish. It is not about women development anymore in our country. It is about women-led development in our country, and I think let's focus on that towards a journey towards 5 trillion GDP, as Prime Minister has laid it out for us.
That's a wonderful thought. So, what do you do in your time off? I mean, I'm sure this is a 24/7 job, but everybody needs some time off. So, how do you, relax?
For me, I work out. I think that's my thing that I have to do, because I love lifting weights. So I'm into strength training in big way. And I'm a trained Kathak dancer, so that is
Oh,
something I really take time to do as well, and do my riyaz as well. So these are really two things that I really love doing. And if I can read a little, or I binge watch Netflix sometimes at the moment.
I think all of us have been guilty of that during the.
Yes.
So, at Motilal Oswal, we believe a lot, in knowledge through reading and, bringing insights to our clients. And you did say that you do read as well in your spare time. Any books that have inspired you? Any 2, 3 suggestions for people on this webinar or who are watching?
I there are a lot of books, Ashish, that have inspired. You know, um, but I think by the end of it, I think what has been my own, I just have carved out my understanding about what it is. But I think with the Michelle Obama book, I think has been something that I read recently, and I just loved it. And that really shows how a woman can really be that pillar to a husband, and be out in her own as well. So that is one of the uh, kind of the inspiring one that I really think has been very close to my heart right now.
Right. I didn't realize we've been speaking for an hour in a really wonderful, engaging conversation. And I've definitely picked up a lot of, nuggets of wisdom during the course of this conversation. I'm sure our customers and people who are watching us on YouTube live stream have also benefited from this conversation. So first of all, many congratulations. Your journey is, truly inspirational. And I'm sure this conversation, will inspire a lot of women who are aspiring to do something similar. And I would just say, continue the good work. All our good wishes with you. And thank you very much for being with us today evening and doing this.
Thank you, and thank you, Ashish, and thank you, Motilal Oswal team. It was indeed a pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Dipali. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for joining us and patiently listening to us.